So let's see.
And if you have to let people in, good afternoon for those of you that are in waiting and joining us just now for our February 24th WITI CEO Roundtable Talk for the state of South Carolina. I see if some of you are starting to join our call. We appreciate that. And we're going to give a few moments for others to join, but wanted to make sure at the top of the hour that we said thank you and we appreciate you being a part of this process. We're excited about what's happening in South Carolina. We're very, very interested in helping all we can connect dots in South Carolina. And you'll hear me talk a little bit as we get into this about the IIJA and the amount of money that we see in our 3 states, right? But let me be very candid with you. South Carolina was already positioned for a whole lot of cash. And there's people doing great work in South Carolina. There's amazing projects in South Carolina. Mr. Davis and his team are doing an amazing job making sure that information is available, because they have projects from the water to the bay to 85 to, you know, all kind of projects in South Carolina. So it's an exciting time to be in South Carolina. So we're going to wait. If you got 6 people coming on board, we'll wait a few more moments to join. So I'm going to quiet down a minute and just understand we'll start momentarily when we get a few more people join us. We want to make sure we allow them the time to connect. So just stay with us and we'll be right back with you. Miss Diane, how's that? Everything is fine?
Unmute her.
Yeah, unmuted.
She's muted.
Okay. Let's make sure she's good.
Is it better now?
Absolutely.
Is it better?
Yes.
All right.
That's it. Perfect.
It's good to have a young person around.
There we go. It's all good. All right. So we're going to wait a few more minutes.
We have the WITI Advisory Committee member from SC Dot.
Yeah, I saw her. That's great.
Let's see.
They're coming. It does take time sometimes to bring everybody in. Miss Beth, what time do you have?
I can't see. If I touch the thing, it goes to another screen.
Okay, don't worry about it.
It's my phone. We're waiting for more people to join.
It's about 6 after the hour. We'll get started in a few more minutes.
I was just going to ask, how was the weather? You say it's beautiful?
Oh my goodness, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, Atlanta's the same way today. It's a spring day. You know, interesting enough, as we wait for our friends to come, Mother Nature's playing a trick on the flowers. I've seen some crepe myrtles in full bloom. It's amazing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and it's like they're coming out a little early, but the weather, I mean, it is what it is. I know that we'll get some cold days, but global warming is, we may not, right? You never know. We may just kind of ride this out until we get to the spring, which spring is coming pretty quickly. 30 days, 20 days, a little less.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So it is now 7 after the hour, and we can wait a few more minutes, and we'll start at 2:10, and then what we'll have is what we'll have. Sound like a plan, team?
Yes.
All right. Good deal. So for all those that are on the call, we hope that you all have engaged the Department of Transportation's team in South Carolina with the state. Many of you, as we see, are registered and certified as a disadvantaged business. And I say registered because every state has this dual piece, and we use that. We call it a ready, willing, and able list. So there's certified firms and there's certified and qualified firms. So I'm gonna give a commercial out as we wait for a few more for our friends to come to put that out there, and hopefully that you're on that aggregate list, right? You want to be on the certified and qualified list. The qualified list is more arduous. There's things you got to do, but that's the list, because one thing that we're clear about, as I understand this delivery methods that's going on across the country, is that the packaging strategies will probably not be broken down to a smaller level as we would like. And it's a function of the kind of projects that they are. And some states have different methods, for instance, CM at risk, and some have design, build. But we want to make sure that all of you, if you haven't, please engage the resources that's available to you to the Department of Transportation to make sure your DB certification is up and ready, and then the qualification is complete. And if you are a female business, there is a new, as of last July, there is a new certification for female firms in the country. And we advise that will be something you aggressively tackle and get that done, and click that, if you will, check that box and get that finished, and understand that being certified is a tool in your arsenal. It's not the nuclear bomb, right? So you do have to put in substantial work, and many of you know that once that is complete, but that is a tool that you can use to gain access. There you go. There, Miss Christina. It's actually called the Women-Owned Certification. It's done by the federal government, and we'll make sure that you get that information sent to you, Miss Jarrett. Great question. You're welcome. So we're going to begin now. It's about that time, and it's 2:10. We're going to start. Absolutely. So thank you all for joining us, and you can move to the next slide, Ms. Beth. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We are so excited to be able to be with you again in the frame of WITI. You'll get more about what WITI is later, but today we've enlisted the support of CEOs in the South Carolina footprint. They have tried and true experience on the ground, and they're actually today just going to sponge you. They're going to wring out all their years of experience and share it with you. And we asked them to do this, and they graciously agreed to that in the hopes that someone will be blessed by that. Someone will benefit from that. Someone will be able to know how to grow their firm. I mean, that's what this is about. How do we create a wider pipeline for women in this industry of transportation? As I mentioned earlier in my preliminary remarks, South Carolina has been blessed historically with significant amount of work, from the I-85 corridor to the work on the harbor there in Charleston, to the work in the Midlands. It's just amazing amount of money that's going on in South Carolina. So we hope that you get involved with it. We have had procurement conversations in the past about that. That's why it's so vital to make sure you're on these lists, because South Carolina is a design build bid state, and the primes will participate in the letting of the projects. And for those that are on those lists, those will be their first contact to those lists, if you will, because they're required to respond to the RFP, and the RFP has some information about the goals in South Carolina. So want to make sure that you, A, are part of that list. B, you know who the primes are. Spend some time with the letting schedule and making sure that you know. I always tell my friends in across the country, if they did bid, they will bid. Meaning, if they're on that letting schedule and they're awarded the project, because you can see that. And if you didn't make this one, just wait a minute, because there's another one coming down pretty quickly. And you'll be able to find out who's in the driver's seat in which company, and you'll be able to hopefully invest in that connection so you can be someone that they don't meet for the first time during the bid process. And I'm gonna get off this commercial in a minute, but you don't want the procurement, the bidding of these projects in the major state of South Carolina to be the first time someone heard about your firm, right? And many of you, I'm probably not telling you nothing you don't know, but at least we can reinforce that and remember that, particularly as this money comes available. I'm gonna take some more liberties, so I won't speak again at the end of this conversation. But the other piece that I wanted to make sure that you're clear about is that the IIJA money that you hear about, everybody's positioning about, is real cash. It's real investment in the infrastructure of America. It's the most in my lifetime. It's historic, meaning, there's going to be a lot of projects that come out the pipeline and have to be executed. What we see in our market is $2 billion between Georgia, South Carolina, and Tennessee. That's just the minority spend based on the diversity categories that are represented in those states. What does that mean? It's a huge, huge elephant. Don't be afraid of it. Take one bite of that, meaning get a contract, get on the list, get engaged, make sure you hone your skills to be competitive. And my last comment this afternoon is to make sure that as you look at your skill set and you look at your experience base, don't be afraid to connect with others that perhaps 2 and 2 could be 5, and they could be better to participate and be competitive because they're stronger financially, stronger workforce wise, and stronger project execution wise, because many times what have you done is so important because they call people in or out of the process based on what they present their credentials to be, right? So we want you to kind of consider that as we get into that. And so we're just, again, thankful that all of you are with us. Will you give more insight about the question? If I can speak to the IIJA a little bit more as we begin to close out. But all it is the name for the transportation bill that was signed by President Biden, and the President Biden and his team are doing an amazing job. Secretary of Transportation and his team are doing an amazing job making sure that people know about it. We'll be glad to share that information. So all that being said, thank you. On behalf of myself, I'm the project director for the Mid-South Atlantic Small Business Transportation Research Center. We led by Joe Jackson, who's our executive director, and Miss Beth Barner is our project coordinator, who's also the chairman and leader for our WITI activity. So we're just so happy to be with you today. I will share this last piece of information. The WITI conversation, which you're about to hear about, is not a new one, but the leaders in Washington are very focused on making sure they even rebrand it and resource it and remember some of the successes we've had in the past and try to emulate those so we can have ladies and young ladies in a pipeline experience. So we want to look at internships for those that are on this call or those that they're not on the call, because in the summertime, we want to have a record number of interns that are female in this process, whether they're in the CEO working in the engineering side or the marketing side or construction side, or they're in the administration side, the Department of Transportation Administration leadership. There are opportunities for internships at a lot of different levels. So I'm challenging you ladies today, and whomever's on the call that perhaps is a man like me, to think about your daughters, your nieces, your friends, and making sure that they have the opportunity to participate in the internship that's available to them. I benefit as a young person in internship program. They call it co-op where I grew up. And it really empowered me and gave me a platform to grow from. So all that being said, thank you again for being with us. And I'm excited about what these young ladies are going to share with you, because they're bringing out their sponges. They're going to share their history with you, and just get your pens and pencils out and get ready to engage. No question's a bad question. If you feel you need to ask a question, just feel jumping into the chat box and we'll address it. I've got a few already that we will address before we leave today. So Ms. Beth, you can take it from now, but thank you guys for coming. We're so blessed that you're here with us, and we're excited about what is going to happen this afternoon with the WITI webinar. Have a great day.
Good afternoon. I'm Beth Barnum, project coordinator, and our agenda is up here on the screen. Mr. Hebrew Dixon did the welcome. We will go over the WITI overview, myself, introduction of the speakers I would do. Then we have our CEOs roundtable. Our CEOs today are Ms. Diane Rushing, have AOS Specialty Contractors Incorporated, and Ms. Karen Jenkins of KRJ Consulting LLC. After they speak, then we have a question and answer session, and the survey link will be placed up there in the closing. Also, Mr. Hebrew Dixon will give some closing remarks. So right now, next we'll go into WITI. This is the logo. The United States Department of Transportation stands for Office of Small Business, Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization, Women in Transportation Initiative, and WITI stands for Women and Girls in the Transportation Initiative. I hear a little feedback. In March 11, 2009, President signed an executive order establishing the White House Council of Women and Girls. And in support of this initiative, in September the 21st in 2009, Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood announced the pilot entrepreneur training and technical assistance program. And then in 2012, the program was changed in order to reflect the inclusion of a broader focus area. That was that. The mission is increase the participation of women in the transportation industry and prepare young women to become our nation's future leaders. The goal of the WITI program are to identify, educate, attract, and retain women and girls in the transportation industry. The WITI program includes outreach, partnerships, business development, training, WITI advisory committee, and transportation internship resources. We have one advisory committee member participating right now, and Ms. Joy Riley. She's of the South Carolina DOT. She's joining us. And next, our speakers. Again, Ms. Diane Rushing of AOS Specialty Contractors, and Ms. Karen Jenkins of KRJ Consulting LLC. Ms. Rushing, could you please give us an introduction overview of yourself?
I'm Diane Rushing, and I'm in the concrete industry, concrete contractor, been doing this for about 32 years, and been a long journey. So we have about 60 employees. Our office is in Lexington, And we do a lot of DOT work as well as other work. And so if I was going to share with this group, there's really only 3 things that I think would be transformational that when I look at my background, things that I wish I would have done earlier. So one is to find mentors, and a mentor doesn't have to be a willing mentor. My first mentor was somebody who wanted to go play the poker machines and hide from their employer, and they hired me as a sub. And I said, well, I'll go to that meeting for you, and I'll go to this meeting for you. And that helped me gain confidence to do things that I wouldn't have had the confidence to do. And so the second one is to join professional organizations. There's Women in Construction, the Women Presidents Organization, Vistage, Young Presidents. There's a lot of them. And those organizations, just being around other people that are more scaled than you are, I swear you just learn from osmosis. And that's really the beginning of my business education. And I've probably been in business 20 years before I started to join those organizations. And my third thing is to find an accountant that is a part of your, they're going to be a consultant. They're not going to be an in-house person, most likely. But I use an accountant that is from out of state, and we have monthly calls, and we get to tune that dial. And that firm does construction companies, dentists, doctors. They have probably several thousand clients, and they look at all of that data, and they keep me honest. They look at trends, they look at this, they look at that, and they say, well, I say, oh, we're just in a little slump. No, your revenues are going down, or your revenues are going up, or you're spending too much on overhead. All of those things, they help us tweak the dial and make us so much smarter. And I really would encourage that.
Well, thank you. Ms. Karen Jenkins, would you go ahead and give an introduction of yourself?
Hello, I am Karen Jenkins with KRJ Consulting. We're a small consulting firm based in Columbia, South Carolina, and we have been around since 2008. So next month, or actually April, we'll be celebrating 14 years in business. And we are a provider of professional, administrative, and IT services to the federal government, local governments. And from the corporate side, we provide leadership development and change management assistance. So just happy to be here and looking forward to some open and good discussions with Diane.
Okay, well, we will get started. Our first question for the CEO Roundtable is, why did you decide to become an entrepreneur? Go ahead and jump in and start that, Ms. Karen.
Ooh, it was not by choice. I was in banking when I graduated from high school. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, graduated from high school, went straight to University of South Carolina, working part-time, had no clue what I wanted to major in, and ended up finding out real early that I would like to go into management. So kind of worked for the bank for about 12 years. I was assistant vice president before I left after the 12 years, and then relocated to another small company here called RBMG. It was one of the only independently owned mortgage companies in the country, although Big Monstrosity was countrywide, and worked with them for 11 years. And my plan was to retire from the corporate industry. But of course, prior to 2008, and we know what happened in 2008, our company got a wince of what was about to go down. So they started shedding departments, and my department was one that they shed. So I found myself laid off in January of 2007. Had no clue what I wanted to do, no clue what I could do, because at that point, I was at a certain level of management, my family are pretty comfortable, and I needed to kind of replace that revenue and also kind of stay where I was, or at least grow within my career. And after being offered another position at another local bank, it just didn't feel right. So I was actually led, I prayed about it, and I was led to open up a small mortgage company
Mhm.
in 2007 with my nephew. And of course, you know what happened in 2008. So we did well for the first year. Second year, we kind of winded down a little bit. And then after working with them, I was approached by a nonprofit to help them fight foreclosure in the state of South Carolina because they wanted my mortgage background. I'm a certified mortgage banker, but they didn't want my mortgage company because they were part of the problem. So I actually created KRJ Consulting to be a service provider to the nonprofit in Charleston called Family Services. Loved what I did. We helped about 148 homes from April to December of 2000. We helped families prevent themselves from going into foreclosure. Started doing some consulting for the actual agencies that we were supporting. And that was really great, but it was really slow. So in 2012, I started working with the Small Business Development Center and decided to rebrand. So we rebranded to do more training, consulting, and training and development and consulting services. And by 2012, we entered into the federal arena. So it was not by choice, but I'm so glad I was led to be here because it has been a phenomenal ride.
Great. And next, Ms. Rushing.
Well, I graduated from Midlands Tech in mechanical engineering technology, and I also co-opted. I worked out at the WITI Summer Nuclear Station when it was under construction, and very pivotal. Anyway, in my career, I loved construction, and so then I went to Atlanta and I graduated from Southern Tech. I think it's called Southern Polytechnic now, with a 4-year tech degree. I went to work for Westinghouse in Pittsburgh in their Navy nuclear department, Westinghouse Plant Apparatus Division. And I have to tell you, I wasn't really very good at my job, and I didn't like it. And there was no construction yard in the background, or in the backyard. It was just an office building, and it was gloomy and cloudy, and it took me a while to work my way back to South Carolina. And my dad had started a company called Advanced Outdoor Services, and I swore I was never going to work for that. He had sold it to another lady, his partner there, and so then I took it from her, and in 1988, and that's how I stumbled into what I'm doing now.
Mhm. Okay.
And my
Next.
old boss, when I worked for Westinghouse, my old boss, I really wasn't very good at my job. And he told one of my coworkers, I really was never going to amount to anything. And so 25 years later, my coworker found me on LinkedIn and talked. And then he went back to, because he's still in Pittsburgh, and went back to my old boss and said, guess what Diane's doing now? But he won't friend me on LinkedIn or whatever. And so.
All right. The next question, Ms. Rushing, how did you get your first contract?
Well, in those days, since I had taken it over from Rachel, the phone rang, and had about 4 or 5 employees, and we did a lot of residential work and just a small amount of commercial work. So we had existing work, and I just jumped in and got started.
And Ms. Jenkins, how did you get your first contract?
So I'm going to give you 3 first contracts in 3 different divisions, right? So my first contract, I just shared with you how I got that when I first created KRJ Consulting. My very first contract was with Family Services, helping them fight foreclosure. In 2012, I became a certified DBE. And in working with our South Carolina DBE office, which I love, they have been a partner with me on my journey and have provided so much support that in talking to them after my very first year, I got certified in October, and by April, I was delivering my first DBE training. So it brought me in to leverage my business acumen expertise to provide training for some of their DBEs. So I've been doing that since April of 2013. Again, I'm going to say it was because of the relationship with the DOT office. They recognized my gifts and talents and was able to leverage those to help other small businesses, and we've been going strong since. My very first federal contract came about because of a relationship I had with the small business office here in Columbia, South Carolina. I actually started that relationship with the small business specialists prior to me getting certified. And they were so excited when I went to talk to them, to find out that I was. And my BOS actually retired. And I was on my way, and we stayed in contact. That's, I'm one of those people you can't get rid of, Diane knows. So I stayed in contact with him, and I remember vividly, I was taking my daughter to college for the first time in North Carolina, and I got a call on the highway that said, hey, we were talking to the BOS, and we asked him if there was a firm that he was familiar with that kind of met our core values and that we could work well together, and he gave him my name. So it was from that relationship that I was able to garner this relationship. And I flew up to DC, met with these ladies. They had an opportunity that we could go after together. So that's how I got my first one, was through that relationship.
Great. Who you know, relational. The next question. What was one of your great successes, Miss Jenkins?
Ooh, I was hoping you'd come to me next. Ooh, what was one of my great successes? One of my great successes, what came out of a need to not be on this journey alone. And you don't always know what you don't know, but by needing some resources and recognizing that I needed them quickly, I reached out to a much larger firm than I was and invited them to continue to participate on a contract with me. It was only two people. I had one, they had the other. But by building that relationship, we were able to work together, find out that we loved working together. And the following year, went after a $5 million contract and won it. So I'd say from a business perspective, that has to be one of my biggest successes.
Great. Wonderful. Miss Rushing, what was one of your great successes?
The job that I had the most great memories of is a park that we built in Charleston, Gadsden Park. And it was a 5-acre soccer field before we got there, 5-acre soccer field when we left, but it was just greatly improved with about a $6 million job with very complicated grading and storm drainage and working in a contaminated site. I'm just so proud of my team because it really was a big stretch for us, and it was out of our comfort zone, and it just ended up beautifully, and it's a job we're all proud of.
Great. Next question. What was a major challenge that you faced and how did you overcome it? Ms. Rushing.
I'd say bonding in the beginning because I wasn't really bondable, and my books were a mess, and so I went to my bonding company and said, the one I use now, I just said, I know I'm not bondable, but can you get me there? Tell me what I need to do, and they've been a great team throughout. They said, okay, you do this, this, and this, and then come back to me, and we followed those rules, and they've been our partner, walking arm in arm with us the whole journey.
That's great. We have a bonding education program that we do sessions, a workshop every year that Mr. Dixon may speak on. Okay, Miss Jenkins, what was a major challenge that you faced and how did you overcome it?
So some people know the story, and I'll try to condense it to not make it too long, but my biggest challenge after being in business for a while in the federal space. We were on our way. We had started getting contracts. Everything was going very smoothly. And we were prepared for growth. And then in 2015, my father got ill. And of course, when you are the caregiver, you have to make a choice. And of course, the choice I made was my father. So we lost 70% of our revenue in 2015. We were blessed that my dad stayed with us for another 4 years, 4 months. And in January of 16, he passed away. So, you know, licking my wounds and healing and getting out there, started building more relationships, trying to salvage the business, to be honest. We maintained, I was able to work from wherever he was, and that worked well, but still the focus wasn't there. Was on my way again, and on June 1st, my son graduated from high school, and June 5th, he had a ruptured brain aneurysm. So again, I think my prepared me for my son. And 37 days in the hospital, 11 surgeries. We had to relocate to Atlanta for 2 months for his rehab. By the grace of God, he's doing well and started USC a year later. But that was a very challenging time when you're trying to, you know, continue your business so that it doesn't, you know, go under, but you also have to be there for your family. So again, the blessing for me was that I was able to work from the, you know, the ICU room. I was able to work from the rehab waiting room while he was in rehab. And I was able to rebuild. When we were in Atlanta, I was working on 2 contracts to figure out, you know, let me respond to these. And one of them was that one when I said earlier that I needed help. I was in Atlanta. I wasn't even in Columbia at the time to figure out what I needed to do on that contract. So that was what prompted me to reach out to the larger firm. So that challenge, you know, the thing that I do to stay on top is I had to keep going, but I also had to focus on the light. You know, as a business owners, we have all these distractions and there's so many things to worry about. Well, when you burn your energy worrying, you're not using fuel to look at the possibilities and to do the things that you need to do. So I made sure that I didn't worry about the problems. They were in my face all day long. I didn't need to go down that path and that rabbit hole. So I focused on the light and the opportunities to maintain what I could and then focus on possibilities. And I was so blessed. I was so blessed, because if you imagine what we lost in the first year, 70%, we were just as bad that year too. And I'm proud to say that I think by the end of 17, quadrupled our revenue.
Great.
So we were in a good position, and that's how I overcame it. It's all about mindset, regardless of the challenge. It's all about mindset.
Wonderful story. Wonderful blessing.
Yes, it was definitely a blessing.
Okay, what advice would you give a young lady about getting into the transportation industry, Ms. Rushing?
Let's do something that you enjoy doing and find a mentor. Get feedback and have thin skin so that you can improve, because it's all about service. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's service.
All
So,
right, Ms. Jenkins.
Definitely agree with what Diane shared, but I'll also share that, you know, your net worth is based on your network. And as women, especially when we're in a male-dominated industry, we're a little shy about building relationships with men. But the reality is, men aren't going to do business with people that they don't know. I don't care whether they're man, woman, orange, green, black, white, or blue. If you don't have a relationship with that person, why would they give you business? If they're already in business with somebody else that's already proven to them that they can do it, they're dependable, you know, they meet all the requirements. You coming in new saying, hey, you know, don't give it to your person over here that's dependable, give it to me, the unknown, is a risk. So you have to get in and build a relationship first, and then don't ask for the whole elephant is mentioned. Ask for a small part. Ask, can you be a sub? Ask, can give me the small job? Let me prove myself to you, and then knock it out the park. And I mean, knock it out the park. Have them wanting you to come back, not you having to call back and ask them, can you try it again? So again, getting out of our comfort zone and building those relationships. And a lot of those relationships starts with that person or business being a mentor. And sometimes it's an introduction. Sometimes your mentors can introduce you to people that you could potentially start building a relationship with. But build the relationship long before the ask of doing business. People
Mhm.
do business with people that they don't know, like, and trust. So you have to get in that field of being known, being liked, being trusted.
Great. Wonderful. The question and answers. Hebrew, did we see what we have? The first question I have, Mr. Greg Davis. He's over the diversity at South Carolina DOT. He had written, both of these business owners have been known to give back to other DBEs through sharing information and experience. Why is that important? Do they see other small businesses as competitors? Is the next question.
Who do you want to answer
We're
first?
stronger together.
Either one, both. Start off with Jenkins.
Yeah, there's this myth out there that business is a zero-sum game, right? If I get something, that takes something away from you. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. If I can lift up somebody else, I promise you, I might not get anything out of the small businesses that I work with and support. My blessing is going to be delivered someplace else, right? So my passion is helping other small businesses grow, and not from, the adage, I don't need to give a small business a fish. I want to teach the small business how to fish. And then at that point, they're sustainable. So, no, I don't look at others as competition. I try to figure out what ways can we collaborate and work on things together. And I think Mr. Dixon mentioned it earlier. If you see an opportunity come out, and let's say you're a small business, and let's say it's something that DOT has or federal government has, and you say, okay, well, I can do 3 of the 5 things. Most of you say, well, I can't do that. No, go and find someone, hopefully from the networking thing we just talked about. You've already built some relationships with some people that complement your services. And then you say, okay, now it's time for us to work together. And you go and you can do those 2 things, I can do those 3, and we can go after opportunities that we couldn't go after alone.
Ms. Rushing?
Well, you have to forgive my French, but I think there's a special place in hell for women that don't help other women. And it's just wonderful to help anyone really, but especially other women in this industry. And a very small club in this industry, and there wasn't anyone 30, 35 years ago. So it's just the right thing to do.
Okay. The next question. Who are you all Herions? How do you pronounce it? And why? Not heroes.
No heroes.
Herions.
Who are
Mr.
the Herions? So I'm gonna say my parents are my Harriet. My mom is my Herion, hero. And then so I'm gonna switch a little bit and say who is my mentor. I have prayed ever since I got, probably even before I became a mentor, an entrepreneur, for a mentor. I have prayed for a mentor. I have prayed for a mentor. And I didn't get mentor proper, right? And I prayed and I realized, I don't know if I can talk about God on the phone, but I'm going to talk about him, okay? He's the one that blesses me. But I realized that he has guided my steps and provided me what I needed when I needed it. And then I looked around and I went, maybe I don't have a mentor proper, but I have people that I have met, that I have watched and observed from afar, or I have people that I've had contact and listened to them and learned what they said, and realized that I have a entourage of mentors that I learned from. I met Diane through a very close friend of ours, Lucinda Lewis, and I even watched Diane from afar. I have learned from her. So you don't necessarily have to have a hero that you can look up to, just one. I have people from afar. There are people, I read books. I try to read two a month, because those books are leading signs. Success leaves clues, right? And there's really nothing under the sun that's new. We just twist it and make it current for the current decade that we're living in, and then people make money off of that. So going back and reading and understanding your history, understanding what other people have done to be successful, and putting your own twist on it. So I think that's the answer to my question.
Great. Okay, the
Karen is
next,
my hero.
You're mine too, Diane.
Go say, ladies.
we have another question came from Ms. Joy Riley, South Carolina DOT and WTS there. What can professional organizations in the transportation industry do to help support DBEs and facilitate networking?
Well,
I don't understand the question.
let me see.
What? Okay.
Let me see. I think I do. Let me see.
We'll let this,
So I'll say this, when I first became a DBE back in 2012, there were networking events. Actually, I was blessed with my certificate at an event that was hosted by the airport in conjunction with all of our supporting industries. SBDC, SBA was there, DOT was there, of course. And that opportunity gave us the opportunity not only to meet the people that represent those organizations, but to also meet each other. The DBE office used to have an annual conference, and the last one that they had that I can recall was in Charleston. They brought guest speakers in, they did training, there was networking, education. I would love to see y'all do that again. I think that was back in, I started in 2013. So somewhere between 13 and 15, I think was the year that y'all did that in Charleston. And events like that, and of course it's kind of hard right now in COVID, but events like that bring these small businesses together so that they can meet each other. They can shake hands. They can start developing a connection to start building that relationship outside of that meeting. So I would say off the shoot, that would be a good start, is to sponsor some of those. I think the DBE program here in South Carolina does a phenomenal job on the educational perspective, because small businesses don't know what we don't know. And they have a catalog of information that they put out that shares all of the various trainings that they do, from QuickBooks to operations to flag, thing and whatever the OSHA training. So just continuing doing that type of support to the small businesses, I think it's phenomenal.
and Ms. Joy, do you want to speak on anything with the WTS?
Sure. This is Joy Riley. I just, I asked that question because I know here in South Carolina, a lot of organizations such as ACEC and WTS is one as well, looking to do more things to help make connections between the larger companies and the DBEs. We tend to get a lot of sponsors for and involvement from the larger companies, not as much from the DBEs. So we're just looking for ideas, looking for ways we can facilitate more access for DBEs and help facilitate those connections. The Atlanta WTS has done some events specifically for DBEs that have been really successful. So that's the origination of my question, is we're just looking for input on that.
Okay.
Ms. Riley, what does ACES and what does WTS stand for, please?
WTS is Women's Transportation Seminar. It's an organization that's been around since the 70s, and it is committed to advancing women in transportation,
Okay.
both entrepreneurs and women working in private and public sector. And then ACEC is the Council of Engineering Companies. And there's South Carolina chapter of that. And I know just from some relationships I have with people in that company, those are the bigger companies usually that are really involved with that, and they're always looking to partner with DBEs on different types of transportation work.
Well, I will share this, and of course, I've been around for a while, and there are certain things that come across my email that I may just kind of glance through and it'll do a pass by, but I'm not sure I'm familiar with the Women Transportation Seminar. So if there's a way for the DBE office to distribute some information on that, to their list of DBEs so that we can get that information and connect and find out more about that organization, because it's something that I would be interested in learning more about, and at least attending to see what they can offer me and what I can learn from them.
Okay, thank you.
I can make that happen. And I think that's a good point. You know, I think there's established, it sounds like the DBEs have very good established relationships with the DOT, you know, offices, and that's probably a good avenue for all our professional organizations to work through to make sure that those opportunities are, you know, get to the DBEs.
And also, Mr. Davis has posted for all of those on the call links to the January to June 2022 training opportunity. So please avail yourself of that and open it up, take a look at it, see where there's some value add for your company, for your company's growth. So even if you are the CEO and you can't make it, it's always a good place to have someone when you have free training, right? Get someone there, right? And then not only just send them there for a seat, but engage in what their experience was and bring back in some types how to spread that to your own organization. Ms. Beth, can you share your screen? Can I share my screen?
Let me stop mine. You want to share yours?
Yeah, I got, based on the
Okay.
questions earlier, I want to share a couple of things, then we'll close out.
Before you finish, I do see one question from
Okay.
Christina on bonding. Bonding
Yeah.
is an issue for us as well. How can I learn and prepare my companies? Do you need?
That's a great inroad. We'd be glad to.
contract?
Great question.
Is there a program to assist me in preparing to obtain a federal contract?
Okay. Okay.
So depending on the field that you're in, so if you're in construction and if you're the prime, yes, you definitely have to have bonding. There are other industries that also require bonding. So yes, you have to have bonding. There are programs I do know that DBE program has done in the past in educating people on bonding. I would say DOT does a really good job of connecting with all the resources in Columbia and in the Midlands and in South Carolina to bring all of those entities together that can help you gain access to capital, help you understand your bonding. And so they send that distribution out. So there are other resources I'm sure as well. So I have to defer to them, but I can tell you what I've seen. So I've seen them provided, and I'm sure they'll be providing it going forward.
Right. And before I get into sharing information, since the bonding question came up, we have historically administered a program called the Bond Education Program, BEP. We have been in South Carolina on several different eras, I would call it, where we administer that as well. We do have a domino that looks like it's going to fall late February, March timeframe, where we'll be in that market again. We've met with Mr. Davis, and he provided leadership of how best to engage that in the South Carolina footprint. We're working with Mr. Cromartie and his team as it relates to how we benefit from the baton, because there's a training program that's in play in like February, March, that's going right now, or they're working on the early part of that we're going to be able to benefit from those folks coming off of that, coming into that. And the big picture of our bond education program, our being United States Department of Transportation bond education program, it's an amazing place to come and get your first bond. But what we stress, and whether you need a bond or not, because some industries don't need bonds, but what the Department of Transportation wants to do is make sure that companies know that it's not so much about getting a bond, but being in a place where you can get a bond, whether you need it or not. What happens in these experiences is that we share the silos of why it's important to have strong administration. Ms. Diane, you talked about that, right? Your books were out saying, why is it important to have a construction cost accountant? Why is it important to have a lawyer or someone that is understanding the construction side of legal? Why is it important to understand the importance of change order management and cost management, not so much, outside the project for your company, but inside that project? How do you manage your cost? How do you understand, are you making money or not, which is huge, but more importantly, are you losing money, right? that sometimes people make some money, but they don't know how much money they lost because they didn't. So that those bond education program experiences provide that. It's done by a team of folks that are expert in their silos. So we're excited about being able to offer that in the South Carolina footprint. So it's called the Bond Education Program. It's done by United States Department of Transportation. As their counterpart in the field, we're responsible for the weeds of that. And so we're excited about that opportunity to do that. Can I share my screen, Ms. Beth?
Yes.
Okay, not yet. Yeah, I can. Okay, great. Thank you so much. No, I can't. Can you try one more time? What I wanted to do based on the question we had is share with you two things. One, some information about the IIJA. That was a question that came up, and I'll have a handout for you, and Ms. Beth can get that over to you. Not yet, Ms. Beth.
I don't see my presentation. I see.
It just says the
myself.
host has disabled participation screen sharing. So
Okay,
there's a
let me-
button you've got to push.
Let me put you on as.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Joy, for adding it. Please, you're getting a bunch of information between Ms. Joy and Mr. Davis in the chat to make sure you not only look at that, but you click that and engage that. And so let's see. Here we go. Thank you. Not yet, Ms. Beth.
Okay, I made your co-host.
All right, there we go. Perfect. I'm going to share the first one with you. There was a question about the what is it called, the certification program for women. So it's managed by the SBA, and you go to this website, which is the SBA.org, and you'll find, you just search women-owned businesses. There's a federal contracting program that they administer, and you follow the yellow brick road, right? With all things, you go on a certified SBA, it'll engage you. There was a self-certification process that happened historically. And in July of last year, that changed to a certification process. And so they're moving forward to migrating that across the board. So if you're a female firm, please engage that and look forward to that. And then I'll share with you this information. Can you guys see It's America on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this document, and we'll be glad to share this document with you. It frames this IIJA, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA. And in it, it talks about the kind of money that's available in the varying areas. And I'm not to get into the weeds of it. I'm just going to go high level with you, and you can get this and look for yourself. But I wanted to share with you this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I wish I could blow it up a little bit bigger, but there we go. There we go. That's big. So approximate funding for this reauthorization act talks about $350 billion in highway programs. What that means, roads, right? And you've got a bunch of work being done across the country. We, again, forecast in our market $2 billion across the board, $10 billion in safety programs. So that's $90 million in public transportation, transit programs. So rail is going to be huge. And for the mega programs, which is the big projects, there's $16 billion. So that gives you an idea. When you get this link, you'll be able to, and we'll share it with you. You'll be able to go in here and find out, some more information about those programs, right? And in intelligent transportation system program, there's a couple of things that, and then from a technology side that you can benefit from. So, and there's several places you can find this information. And I would just offer that you would want to make yourself a student of this and follow the money, right? I mean, it's really simple in the big picture. It gets kind of hairy down into the weeds of things of how you actually track the project. But every state gets money from the federal government. They use it to do projects in their state. And these projects are fairly funded, so they're DBE projects. And it's a whole lot of projects. So family, I would advise you, counsel you, beg you to use all you can. Think about, let me just make it live for you. There are huge companies, right? The big companies are telling their shareholders, we're going to get a lot of this work because they've been tracking this for a year or 2 or 3, right? So if you haven't been in that space, it's not too late. It's this big elephant, take one bite at a time. So you want to make sure that you avail yourself of what this is and become a student of it. And then again, in the South Carolina footprint, follow where that money hits to South Carolina. And I will share with you last, and I'm done, is that South Carolina has positioned itself already for significant investment. The work done in the harbor, in the Charleston revamping, the work done in the Midlands with the Crossroads project, the work done on I-85 for 10, 15 years, they've been working on I-85, right? Now, I can tell you why I think they're working on I-85, but there's a lot of money in high-speed rail coming. So it would be amazing to have a high-speed rail from Atlanta to Charlotte. It would be pretty substantial to do that, right? Think about that. It's going to happen. It's not an if, it's a when. So anyway, family, avail yourself to that, be involved with that. And we'll make sure that, Ms. Beth, I'll send you this so you can share it with the people on the call if they're so inclined for that. Any other questions that we have? Let me see, there's some. No more questions.
We want to thank Ms. Jenkins. She has to,
Okay, I see. We're all done. Yep, and actually we are done. Just Ms. Bev, go ahead and take it out. And far as
in the links there, they have some information in chat, the links to different organizations and information for
Right.
ones to look at. And our, if you stop sharing your screen,
I will.
we'll have a link for the, the
There you
next thing
While
is
you're
just,
doing,
that's the survey. If everyone complete that, type that link in your URL. If we type it, I didn't cut and paste it, copy and paste it into the chat. You can go directly to our survey. Let us know also what you would be interested in us covering in the future, what topics to best help you guys.
Okay. And ladies, anything else?
so
Yeah, please, Ms. Diane.
I just can't let this end without giving a great big shout out to the SBDOT Minority Business Office, man. I have
Yes.
called them and asked them to help me solve problems. Sometimes they said, Diane, you're gonna lose this argument, you know, you're wrong. Sometimes they tell me I'm right and go try it this way. And, you know, they don't fight the battle for me, but what a wonderful place to go get, you know, they're a mentor for you. And they
Right,
march arm
right.
in arm with you.
They do have a great team. They're in the trenches, and
Thank
they're one
you.
of the few DOTs that have their own supportive services contract, and it adds value. So I'm so thankful that you shared that.
Definitely, and that's
Anything
amen.
else?
No, I just want to say thank you for the invitation. I have to drop off, but good
Okay,
for
yeah,
everybody out
sure.
there, and I enjoyed the opportunity. Diane, we'll talk.
Thank you so much, Ms. Karen, Ms. Diane. Thank you so much, Ms. Beth. Thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you.
Guys, please take the survey. Please take the survey. Please take the survey. It says it's not active, Ms. Beth. We have Dr. Didi McMarks.
He says not active.
That's what they
Well,
shared.
we have to do some research and copy
All right.
and
Good
make
deal.
it correct.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Well, let's make sure we get that survey working before we get
All
off.
right,
Is it working yet?
okay.
Place it in the chat. Can you place it in the chat, that link? I know you can. Could you, will you please?
It's working when I clicked on it.
Okay. Well, if someone, okay, that's fine.
That's how I look. I just clicked on it right now. And this came up on the screen. You guys see that? So
Well,
it's working. Maybe if they complete it, if that's the
Could you please
problem.
place it in the chat, just that link.
I
Yeah.
will.
Thank
I have to go.
That may help them. Yeah, just take it out the PowerPoint, place it in the chat. and it'll be fine.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for participating. Have a great day. You're gonna place
Thank
it
you.
there. Place it in there. Let's see if you can just cut and
Okay,
place
I'll
that.
copy it. Okay. I got to copy it from somewhere else. Hmm.
And the worst case scenario, you can just email them the link, Ms. Beth.
All right, I will. So
Okay,
thank
you,
everyone,
Thank you all that's on the call. Thank you. I'll be well. Bye-bye.
and see you next. We'll follow up with information on the survey link and the IIJA letter. Appreciate it. Goodbye. Thanks everyone for joining. Let me copy this. Hmm.